Yep. Perfect.
Awesome. So today we're going to be talking about the tools that you already have to reduce the admin and stay on top of your numbers. So this session is really about keeping things simple and practical. We'll cover what you need to know, where businesses often get caught out, how to eliminate a reactive admin, automating tasks, and sharing some real customer stories with you. So that's all from me. Let me hand over to our speakers. Stan, do you want to start by introducing yourself?
Yeah, so I'm just here for the looks really. I got nothing to add, so I'm just here for to make the show look pretty.
You're
So,
not getting out of it that easy, Dan.
oh come on.
No,
No,
absolutely not that.
no. In fact, I've been on the tools today, so I'm a plumber trained by trade, and I still do work because like you can't stop it. And I started Fergus many, many years ago now, about 17 years ago. And that was come born of the frustration of trying to run a trades business because I'd burned through a couple. So I didn't know about gross margin, admin systems, all that in my 20s. And then I read some books when I was 29. I was like, standard operating procedures, and then gross margin, and the difference between cash and profit, and that you need a whole lot of systems so the cash comes in, and you need customer service so people get a good experience and they're not walking wallets and staff aren't walking wallets. All these lessons you learn that were too hard won, that I would never recommend that pain journey. And so then the Fergus has gone, it's quite large now. It's 100 odd staff now, 3 countries, 25, 27,000 people or something using the thing. So it does something right. It does something. So hopefully we can share a bit of that. And I also will hand it over to Clinton and Scott. But I also met Clinton and Scott must be going on 10 years ago, right,
Yep.
Clinton?
It'll be over 10 years.
And what, you maybe were 2 or 3 when I first met you?
Maybe about 3 or 4 years we've been in business.
No, I mean
Um,
staff working with you then, and now you're
oh,
quite
yes.
right.
Yes. Yeah,
And now it's a
absolutely.
big team.
Yes.
And I think for me that's the success is any business that survives and can grow, it must be doing something right.
Hmm.
And it's
Yeah.
certainly not based on their looks or charm, isn't it? So therefore it must be the results that what they do must work because there's no way they could grow and be as big and as successful and as well known as they are. So with that intro, I hand over to you two.
Thank you, Dan. Very, very nice introduction. The Oz NZ banter is alive and well. And I'm feeling a bit outnumbered here because Scott's also a fellow Kiwi, so you have to be nice to me. So good to be working alongside Fergus after such a very long time. Dan, it took us a long time to get to this point of working together.
Yeah.
But super, super excited to be here and able to share the knowledge that we've gained over the 14 years that we've been in business of working with trade businesses and a bit about TradiePad. We are a business services company focusing on technology training and technology education, and obviously working with Fergus as a training partner to help businesses understand how to leverage the capabilities of the amazing tool and make sure that they're using it to its potential, which is why we wanted to have this webinar to
Mm.
highlight some of the key things that Fergus is able to solve for businesses and answer a lot of questions that we are presented with every day when we're talking to customers. We've worked with thousands of trades and construction businesses across Australia and New Zealand now, and we're having the same conversations over and over again with people. So, good opportunity to spread the word in bulk to everybody that's here, and big shout out to everyone that's taken the time to be here and do a bit of learning. I have a lot of respect for people that have time that spend the time to educate themselves and learn. So well done, everyone. And yeah, looking forward to the conversation. I'll hand over to Scott.
Well, again, yeah, it's great to be here, and thanks for having us, and especially the people that have joined today for sacrificing some time to learn about the business. So yeah, I've been working for TradiePad for about 11 years now. Yes, I'm from over the ditch. So not a plumber, brought up in a builder's or a family building business. So yeah, it's just a little bit better than a plumber. Anyway, we won't go.
Dream
But yeah, yeah, as soon as I could walk, I was up on building sites, denailing and working and all that sort of thing. And look, to be honest, the old man, still now he's retired, but he never went to software. He was always using a diary and the big year planners that sit on the wall and on the desk. But yeah, so I had a bit of a different past. Moved over to Australia from New Zealand in 2012, and really got my first look into software. And thought, yeah, this is really really cool stuff. And first of all, it was all about this is no brainer. This has got to be what everybody wants. But once I sort of dug into it and learnt about it, I was like, this is because I'm all about automation and time saving. And then once I started working for TradiePad, I realized, yeah, it was, yes, there was the software tools that we use, but it was what those software tools were doing for businesses and around things like automating their business, giving their time back, and yeah, that was really cool. So, yeah, I started off talking to thousands and thousands of tradies like yourselves, and then slowly, yeah, grew through the business, and now working alongside Clinton to, yeah, I suppose spread awareness, but help, as much trades and construction people as we can to automate their business with software. So yeah, great to be here.
Right, so I'll kick off a few questions. So we'll try and get through a few things, and then we'll have open question time. I will iterate though, it's not a Fergus support session. So just remember this is business, it's a business admin session around how do we improve our businesses. So the key place we're going to start on is like the goal in a business is, I call it the ability to invoice every day. Because not every job can be invoiced every day, because whatever, it's a renovation, a new house. But so I say, but the goal is the ability to invoice every day and also taking payments every day, right? So those are the two goals I would say every business gets to that point that they need to, the example I give is I had 17 vans on the road, 25 staff, right? It was big. So my wage bill every week was $50,000 a week in wages alone. And then we had another 10 or 15 grand of expenses that had to be paid. And then every month there was 16 grand of GST, and we had 80 to 100 grand of supplier merchants to pay. It was insane the amount of cash flow required to run that business. Like I needed $10,000 a day to drop into my bank account just to stay afloat. Mm. And so the systems required to get to that level are insane. Mm. And so talk is like, what's required to get a business to that level where you can trust the process so the money drops in. And so what I'm going to hand over to Clinton and Scott soon is there's always admin. And that's fine. Like, don't begrudge it. We worked out, and I think every business should do the same. At my 17 vans, we worked out we had 120 hours of admin every week that had to be done. That's just the deal. Therefore, it was 3 people. There was no overhead, had to be paid, and you structure your business so that it can pay those overheads. But then how do you get it? Like, how do you get a business to go from where you are to 17 vans to somehow the invoice goes out and the customer's happy to pay on time by the due date with no discounts? Because that's the goal. So for me, this is you can copy this, send me the $10 royalty check for this success statement. This is my definition of business success. All right, you ready? I can't see the pens in your hand. Yeah. It's invoices paid in full by the due date at the right margin. For me, that's success. And so the point of getting admin partners on board in the right system tools is to bring that statement to life. So invoices paid in full by the due date at the right margin. By the due date means that the client was expecting the bill, they kind of knew what it was going to be, and they sort of paid it because they were expecting it to come. Yep. At the right margin meant that you knew how to run your business effectively to make the right margin. And so there's 2 parts of a business, right? There's the customer journey piece, that they know what the invoice is going to be, they have a good experience, they pay the invoice on time. And then there's the operational part, which is you knew how to run your business and your job so it actually could come in on time, on budget.
And I'll add one more thing in there, Dan. You have the necessary information to be able to create the invoice to send to the client. Because if you have a team of people working for you that are spending time and are using materials, you need that information from them so you know what needs to go onto the invoice. And that's probably a good segue into talking about the systems.
Well, I will give you another quote to write down, everyone, because don't get me started. I have pithy little statements that will come out. Right, and so, there's a statement for organizing information in a business, and it sounds like this. Okay. Pick your pens up again, please, people. It's the the right information to the right person at the right time in the right format. And so
Easy.
easy peasy, cheap and easy,
Easier said than done.
Mm.
but very easy to say, very hard to do. And this is what admin tools and systems bring to life that statement. This is the whole point of how do you bring that statement to life in a real business?
Yeah.
And with that, I will pass the
The
microphone.
baton, the talking stick.
Yeah.
Well, I think one of the key things to back up what Dan's saying, if I can just jump in there, is I think some of the things people come to us with, the pain points are actually, and it surprises me because I talk to some businesses that are, reasonable sized businesses, and they're relying on what's on the bank account to keep their business going. They don't have any sort of automated process. They've got no consistent way of tracking their materials and labor, and then things just get left off. They're losing money by not actually having the right information and being materials and labor and the work that was done to actually invoice for. So it surprises me because I think, how have you gone on this long, without having any visibility? And then there's changes in jobs that are not being invoiced for, or variations that haven't been signed off by the client that people are just doing. And this is a big thing, and people come to us and they're just pulling their hair out. And a lot of the time, it's either because they're managing their business manually, or their technology tools aren't set up and they don't know how to use it properly.
Mm.
So let's get into getting some real practical tips, right? So what do you guys do that help businesses try and set up whatever it is so the business can start collecting information? Like, where do you guys see it all starts and goes wrong or goes right?
Well, I'll start, I guess, at the very high level of a lot of times it's being aware of and being prepared to change, being aware of the way things are being done now, but being prepared to change and thinking about the way that the business does things and business policies and processes, and I guess being prepared to adapt to the way that technology can do stuff. Because my own personal experience, the way that the plumbing business operated before we implemented technology compared to the way that the business operated after implementing technology was completely different. And without that mindset of being prepared to change and adapt to best practices and the ways of doing things, it's like you're just trying to do things the old way with a new tool. And it's like, what's the point? So, being prepared to change is massive. And I'll highlight as well, I'm aware that we'll have people here today and listening that are using technology and a lot of people that aren't using technology. So I guess we've got to kind of get that message across to everybody. But the purpose of today is to make everybody aware that make sure you're using whatever system it is that you're using to its full potential, and be aware and prepared to make some changes to adapt to the way that that system works.
I've got a couple of things to throw out there. For those of you who've never heard me speak before, I might be a little bit opinionated. If you haven't worked that one out already, I'm just a tad. This is probably my strongest opinion. So take this all with a grain of salt or a bit of cream, whatever. I have a saying called SAP, and that stands for shut up and pay. And in business, in life, all your problems go away when you just pay people to do the right thing. So as a business owner, so I've been in business since I was 22, right? And it's terrible at admin. Since I was 29, I've never processed payroll. I've never done a GST return. I've never done end of year tax returns. I've never done anything that requires that sort of stuff because I hate it and I suck at it. But my job is to make sure it gets done. But it doesn't have to be me that does it. And my job is to pay someone to do it and not complain about it.
Bit of delegation, Dan.
Got to delegate. And so we run into this term called delegated authority. So what's delegated authority? Okay, so let's say you put someone in charge of the GST return or doing payroll or doing customer service. You have to trust them to do that role, but then you have to bring in processes and policies that they know what success looks like when they do that job. And so then this is like, so you've got to start being a director. You've got to start being a boss, right? And you can't just abdicate authority or abdicate management to somebody else and kind of just like bugger off in your van and hope it all comes right. You've got to like you've actually got to like put in processes and policies and bring in system tools. Okay, so this is all like what does this actually mean in theory? Where does it all start? Okay. So where it all starts is I call it the uncertainty principle. So the uncertainty is you as the business owner, you want to get paid on time in full. That's what you want. The property owner, they want the job done on time for a fixed price. And there's discrepancy between what the business wants and the client wants. Like kind of no one knows what's going to happen. So there's this uncertainty. And so your first principle as a boss is to go, okay, how do I bring in a process and policies that captures the intent for what the property owner wants? And then I write that down on some sort of job cards. So when the tradesperson is on site, they can now see what the intention was. So what does that look like? It's very simple. In practice, what it looks like is you ask the owner, when do you want it finished by? What do you want to spend? What's the quality you want? And so you need to find out, oh, it's for a rental property. The tenant's moving in on a Saturday morning. I need it finished by Friday at 4:30 p.m. and I don't want to spend more than $500. And so that goes on the job card. And this is where this whole journey of business automation starts, is getting that intent up front around what the property owner actually wants to pay. And that's the first step in the system automation. Now, once again, very easy to say that, but how do you bring that to life? Right? How do you actually bring that to life? And this is what people like Clinton and Scott's, their job is to help you understand all the changes that need to happen in your business so that very pithy little statement can be translated into actionable actions.
And where the system fits into the mix here is the business having the discipline that everything goes into the system. So when you have that conversation with the homeowner or the tenant or the client or whoever it is, that information goes into the system so that you've got everything together in one place and everybody has visibility of it. So if you have a team of people working for you, you haven't got bits of information here, there, and everywhere. Everyone knows that it's all going to be in the one place. And then it then steps into the I guess a bit of change management in the business and a bit of discipline in the business, that everybody records all of the relevant information against the job record. So timesheets get recorded, material usage gets recorded, and we'll talk about it later on, that supplier invoices, if we're purchasing material for jobs, that's all being captured as well. So that all that, going back to what we started the discussion with, all that necessary information about the job is in there so that if we want them to, the field technicians are able to create the invoice as long as we've given them the knowledge that they need and the tools that they need to be able to price it properly and invoice for it. Or if you've got an admin team or an office team that's doing it, they have all the information that they need to be able to produce that invoice and get it sent out as soon as the job's done or at the end of the day.
Because I think just to give I'm not sure how many people here are TradiePad's clients, right? But you guys, you don't know what TradiePad does, but you guys actually will come in and set up the Google Drive. We'll only use Fergus Job Management, right?
Of course.
Of course, right? And you put it in the whatever, say maybe the G Suite of Google, Gmail and Google Calendar, and you'll actually then help them understand how to use it. But then you also work with the business to craft process and policy around how you answer the phone call, how you record the information, right? Do you want to talk through how you actually take say a 3 to 4 man company that's using, everyone's got a system, right? They might have Excel spreadsheets, they might have bits of paper, they might have a timesheet app. It's still a system, right? And it's still working. So, and I never want to minimize if anyone's ever got a business going for a couple of years, it's respect, right? But systems get old and need updating, right? And then these guys come in and they do the change management transition piece as you get into the more professional tools. But do you want to talk through what that's like to do the changeover to get into more professional automation tools?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's understanding and working with the business to find out how they're managing things to start with. Okay, because we're not all about, customizing exactly what they're doing with their manual system or with an existing system. It's about optimizing and then managing, the workflow or redesigning that workflow. That's a key foundational point of our projects is working with the key people to redesign their workflow in technology. Because it's
What do you
almost like
mean by that, though, Scott? What do you mean by that?
so it's stepping a business through their workflow as they're doing it now. So how they actually manage their jobs right from inception all the way to invoice. To get a good understanding of that process, whether that's done manually or through technology. Okay. But then recreating that in the technology. Okay. So it's a workflow. So they start from getting an inquiry, they do a quote, accept a quote, depending on the invoicing, they might invoice, they schedule, they carry on to invoice. They're just some of the basic fundamentals, but it's understanding that workflow and then recreating that within the software package, not customizing, because Clinton has talked about change and so has Dan, because it is about changing the way you're doing things now to use technology to automate and save time in the business. And so that workflow within the software is key as the foundation of, like what I'd call an implementation and training project with any software. Because once that's sort of mapped out, then it's taking the necessary people through the training because I'm guessing that people are thinking, okay, that's all well and good, like, yes, okay, we teach, we get people to be all doing the same thing and we do some discipline and all that sort of stuff, but who's going to hold our hand and take us through this? So we'll break that workflow down into chunk-sized training sessions and train each either area or person in the business how to use that tool to right from the basic, I suppose, to any advanced features that they need to do to perform their role. But again, it's not something that's going to go and they're going to get it straight away. It's actually giving it a bit of a try, adding a little bit more on, making a mistake, coming back, but having someone that you can almost like training wheels bounce off and actually, guide you through the process. Because I'm a big believer, and just a short one here, Dan. I know you love the old analogy, but repetition is the mother of skill. All right, so you keep on doing it, keep on doing it. You've got someone to guide you. And look, sometimes it's more than guiding, sometimes it's holding you accountable as well to doing the training, to doing the work in between the sessions, to pushing you over that little hurdle of going live with a system. Okay. But it's what we do, and it's with the setup and configuration that's really, really important, but it's actually training and teaching and imparting that knowledge on how to use the system. That's the power of any system. If a system can be really functional and do lots of different things, but if you don't know how to use it, it's useless. So that's where we come in to actually teach you how to use it, but not just slam you and overwhelm you with information, is take you through that process.
And
And I'll add on to that. Sorry, Dan, to interrupt, but we'll look at the way that things are being done now, but with the experience that we have with working with so many businesses over the years, we also know what best practice looks like. And it's bringing that best practice into the business and also educating the business about changing the way that things are done and why you would bother changing. An example of that would be a client I spoke to yesterday he's starting to do more project type work, which will be managed on a cost plus basis. And up until recently, he has not been putting all of his supplier invoices into his accounting package or into his job management system. And he didn't understand why he would bother doing that. And so education here was important to say, well, if you're running a cost plus project, we need to keep a track of all of those actual costs so they can be on billed to the client. And so it's guiding him through that change to go, I know you haven't done this before, but it's a critical part of the process so that we're capturing all this information effectively. And this is how it's going to feed into your accounting system. And so it's guiding him through that change, because if he tried to do it the way that he's always done it, it would have failed. So it's being part of that change process and that education process to go, okay, well, just because you've done it that way for so long doesn't mean that's the right way. It's there's better ways to do it, and this is why.
Yeah, you're spot on, Clinton. And the other thing too, it just popped into my head, is not everybody's the same. So it's adjusting that delivery, because sometimes it's better to start off simple or start off with the basics and then build on those basics as well. Because it's not about overwhelming you and going, you need to know all this about the system now. It's like, let's just get the fundamentals or what you're going to be using in your role, as a person or a business owner, get you understanding those, and then you can build on that as well.
one of the things about business, the weird thing about business is Clinton touched at the start, information in. And when you're first trying to grow a business, you don't have to get every information in the right place immediately, but you do need to get every bit of information into the business and then assign it. And so that's probably one of the hardest things for a business to understand. So let me give an example to say what I mean. So I remember I had this East German gas fitter, Veit. He was very technical, excellent, always getting cash on completion. I loved him so much. Thought he was my number one employee. Not a great sense of humor. However, I finally, this was when I was putting Fergus, and we released the timesheet um, tracking functionality of how many hours they're working versus how many hours they're charging. He had one of the worst charge out rates. It was like 65%. And the reason people were so happy to pay for him on site is he was only charging time on site. He wasn't charging travel time, time at the suppliers getting materials. So whilst he appeared to be the greatest employee in the world, he was one of my worst performers because on the timesheet system we weren't recording every bit of time that he was actually doing, only the time on job. And so therefore, when you start a business, like as Clint touched on, the packing slips weren't going into the supply documents weren't going to the system. Well, stuff just leaks out. And so as you start this process management, you're like, okay, well, the first goal is we have to track every single nut, bolt, and screw, and then we can assign it to a job later. And once we get more comfortable, we'll get better at making sure we create jobs. We use purchase orders. We make sure stuff is always assigned, right? So, and that's a process. You don't go from 0 to 100 overnight. I mean, I would have thought, I'll take a stab. I've been selling Fergus for a long, long time. I see people using Fergus for 5 years, 10 years, and never get the most out of it. Like, it's terrible. Normally, I see rapid progress in 3 to 5 months when people get professional help. Would you say it's about 3 to 5 months of professional training before they really start to get results? It's not 30 days, is it? That was it.
No, so I don't know if Scott was going to answer that question. No, it's definitely not. There's a lot that happens in the first 30 days, but that's when the rubber starts to hit the road of actually putting the workflows into place and starting to see the data being collected and starting to see the information coming in through the system and working through the teething issues. But all of our projects include 3 months to 6 months of support and what we call toolbox sessions to keep the education going and keep the momentum going with learning the components that make sense. Some people will be really fast learners and will accelerate through it. Some people will get to the end of the included 6 months of support and they'll need a bit more training. Everyone's different. Everyone uses the systems in different ways and has different ways of learning, has different priorities. And so that's why our projects are always quite bespoke when it comes to how fast we go through everything. And it depends on what is the priority for the business that we're working with, but it's a constant evolution. We have clients that are still working with us that have been with us for 10 years. And we've taken them through a journey. They started on a really basic system and the business grew, they've evolved and gone on to a new system. And we continue to work with them because there's always new stuff to learn. And I guess we're kind of like an IT department for tradies. So there's always questions about the printer and the network and all that kind of stuff. And we help with all of that. But it is definitely an ongoing evolution of education and business growth and system growth. You developers, Dan, you keep adding things in and expanding and software keeps evolving and AI comes out. I'm not even going to go down the AI path, but that's part of the ongoing evolution is the education about what the new stuff means and all the cool new features that are coming out with Fergus Go and just the general evolution of software.
I'm going to be, as we can tell, Clinton is probably the most diplomatic person on the call. So, which is great.
A lot of things.
Go for it, Dan. Rip into it.
Rip into it. So I've been doing this a long, long time, right? And I would say I made these mistakes in my 20s. I see many business owners do it the same. So get out the cream and sugar again because I might bruise a few egos, but that's life. And what I see, I made this mistake in my 20s. I saw customers and staff as walking wallets, right? And the job was to get money from their wallet to my wallet. And I wanted my business to work a certain way. And that has to die. And so when you're working with, I work with trade businesses now, I'm like, I don't care what you want for your business. What I want you to say is, I want my business to deliver this outcome for my customers. And so for a business to grow and do successful and bring in systems, that the business owner has to give up this notion that his business will work a certain way. A business has to deliver outcomes for clients. And so there's a whole, once you take on that way of thinking, dying to think that you own and control this business and going, I have to build a business that delivers an outcome to clients. And you have to reorientate your whole business to being completely around, you've always got two customers, right? You've got your internal customer and your external customer. Your internal customer are your staff, and then your second customer is your clients. First of all, you've got to keep your internal clients happy. You've got to keep your staff happy so that, man, if they don't like working for you, imagine they're in someone's home. My gosh, guess how well that's going to work out for you? It's not. So you've got to die to self. You've got to go, I've got to build a business that delivers outcomes to my clients first. And that's process and policies, that's system tools, that's the right information to the right person, the right time, the right format, right? That's all got to be done correct. Then you've got the actually making sure when people are on the customer's properties that the customer gets the outcome they want on time, on budget, at the agreed outcome level. Because then that is what nearly always guarantees that you can take payment or get paid by the due date on time, right? And when you're at that level, that's when businesses grow. And one thing I can tell you, every business owner you meet who's got past those sort of 10 vans on site, they all think the same way. They've all learned the lesson. The only thing that matters is that my customer is delighted. And the whole business gears around the process, policies, and systems to make sure that the customer is delighted. Because
and happy to pay their invoices.
Delighted customers pay their invoices and repeat and refer.
Yep. Advocates.
And so, because Clinton was very, very different, saying working with the team is very diplomatic way. That was this very diplomatic way of saying, I've got to take my time to work slowly with the business owner and help him understand he's got to transition to trying to craft a business that he wants, or she, or they, to be the way that they would like it to be, and let that go and die and dig a hole and bury it because it's dead and gone, never coming back. And build a business that is completely focused on trying to make delighted customers. And then when you're in that mode, that's when businesses grow.
Dan, just on that one thing, and you mentioned it before about delegation, and I'll use an example about this later on, but I think delegation or having the trust to delegate is really, really important. And so I thought I'd ask a couple of business owners here, first of all being Dan, how did you struggle with delegating? Or did you struggle, and how did you struggle with delegating? You've had a big journey in business. What are some of the things that you struggle with, and what happened once you are able to delegate and let go a little bit?
No, I've no trouble being lazy. I'm super good at being lazy. I have no trouble. What I didn't know was where the hell to point the business.
Right.
So I didn't understand the most important thing is where the hell are we going?
The direction.
Lining up on the goal the statement of like, I just need cash flow. I just need to get paid at the completion of every job, or the ability to get paid, and working back from that. And my gosh, once you unpack that journey, and then once you start like pulling your own business and seeing what it's like to experience working for your own business, you're like, man, no wonder people don't pay us on time. We suck. Right? And once you're really honest about your own business and go, would I employ these guys to work in my house, and would I actually want to work for this guy?
Yep.
And the answer was a no.
Yep.
And then once I sorted that out, then like I'm blessed with an incredibly high risk tolerance of going into complete debt because I trust first principles. And I can guarantee you, if you focus on customer delight, you will get paid on time. And you can trust the process to pay people like tradie, to take an admin person on. Trust the process. the cash flow will come and you will get more work. And yes, to bake a cake, you've got to break a few eggs. You've got to spend money up front. That's life. That's business. That's risk.
100%. Ruffle a few feathers. Clinton, what about you with delegation? Have you struggled with delegation?
Depends on who you ask. Sometimes. Being, I don't know, I guess a bit of a perfectionist and wanting things done a certain way, it's challenging. But thinking about our customers, I see a lot of people struggle with the delegation of invoicing, and tying in with the whole conversation today about admin and invoicing on time. This is something that a lot of business owners say, I have to do the invoicing because I'm the only one that knows how much I need to invoice and which clients, how much they should be charged. And so that's a lot of times, it's one of the things that's really tough for our customers to let go of. And when we think about the systems, we think about what, all of these systems, Fergus especially, has an ability for an invoice to be created in the app at the end of the job and payment can be taken. But for that to happen, the person that's out in the field needs to be competent in creating that invoice. And so if we think about from a system perspective, they need to have an ability to charge for the labor that they've spent on the job, the materials that they've used on the job, or be able to price it up if it's a fixed price job. But just having that information accessible to them, and them having the authority to be able to record that, to produce that invoice, is a really key piece, and something that a lot of people that need to delegate, they struggle with letting go of that. But with the system set up the right way, we can have all of the rates in the system. So the labor rates, we can have pricing tiers for our customers that get charged different labor rates depending on who they are or the type of work that's being done, and a price list of materials or markup percentages. The system can be set up the right way for you to be able to delegate that to your staff members so they can create that invoice on the spot and they can take the payment and all the admin is done. A lot of our clients, we say that to them and they go, nah, that's never going to happen. So they really struggle with that ability to delegate that, because in their head, it's too complicated. No, I can't possibly teach people how to do that. And once people get past that roadblock and they can see how the system can be set up to have all of that data in there to make that process easy and repeatable and consistent, that's a huge admin burden off people's shoulders.
And it empowers staff as well.
Absolutely.
A bit of trust that you believe that they can actually perform this action. My boss thinks I can do it. He's given me the reins. I can actually do it. That goes a long way.
Mm.
Now, it might be hard if you've never seen it before. It's hard to explain, talking about how all these system tools can work and these processes and policies can work. It's really difficult to explain in a webinar. You kind of it's like driving a car, right? You can read that manual.
I never read a manual.
Australian, right? Maybe you can read it all. Well, it's not until you get in the car and you're actually in the car does it all start to make more sense what the levers and the buttons and the things do.
100%.
And so you just kind of take a little leap of faith and say, okay, I want to improve my business. And as I talked about before, it's like, well, what am I improving it towards? And this is where I said direction is super important. What direction is the business going? And so I've laid down the commandment of what that direction is. And that is, you should all just agree, it's non-negotiable. And that direction is, so if you were to employ a tradie badge or Clinton, and I fully recognize it's like not blowing smoke up their ass, they're actually really good at what they do.
Thanks, Dan.
It's just not very good looking.
And Aussie.
To me, you are. And to your mum. Back on track, sorry. Where was I?
Sorry, Dan.
Yeah.
Direction.
Direction. And so anyone you employ, architect, what do you want to build? Where do you want to go? Taxi, where do you want to go? So even if you employ these guys, you need to give them a really clear instruction, and you go, okay, in 6 months' time, I want to have 30 days cash flow, and I want things to be paid in full by the due date at the right margin. That's a super clear instruction. Now, the implication of that is they're going to come in and go, go full jandal and like tear your business apart and actually get it to work in the way that it needs to achieve that outcome. But what a great place to be. And so your only job as a business owner is to shut up and pay and stand back and let them do their thing, right? And
One
trust.
of the questions that we asked, Dan, which ties into what you're saying at the start of the project, is what does success look like at the end of this project for you? It's a key question for us, and it's different for every single one of our clients.
Well, I think so. There's two things there, because you are right. There's success for the business and success for the business owner.
Correct.
So it's a very good point. So my statement, invoices paid in full by the due date at the right margin, that's business success.
Yep.
Now what is the business owner success? That's a different thing. So from that free cash, you then do what you want for your personal life. But once you get the right people in place and the systems in place, I call it, you build your own ATM machine, right? And that's the whole purpose of a business, is eventually it needs to be an ATM machine that just prints money. And it's more than possible to achieve that. And I know that because I had 25 staff, and sometimes I'd look back, $500,000 a month, and I'd go, how is this even possible that this thing actually works? How is this even possible that it works? It's very frightening, but somehow it just works.
Like magic.
It's like magic.
You're a magician.
Surely it's because of Fergus.
Of course, it's amazing. It's the best tool in the world if you use it right.
Correct. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah,
if you use it right.
Yeah, as long as everyone in the business is using it right. And this is where the workflow development, back to the start when we started talking about what we do when we go into a business, it's developing the workflows and educating everybody involved so they know what their part of the process is, and they're doing their bit so that the next person, assuming we've got a few people in the business, the next person has the information they need to be able to do their bit.
Yeah.
And all along the way, we're all working together to deliver to the customer and create that delighted customer so they're happy to pay their invoice. So clarity on that process and clarity on that workflow is critical.
And that takes time to develop. I'll give you one practical example of what we did with our foreman. I'm speaking fast to get through all the information. So this is like, so these guys come in and they got to bring in stuff like this. So this is the policy I had for my foreman. So we would do quoting same day. So Joel, ex-plumber, so he'd do 7 o'clock in the morning. He would sometimes either be on site or go to clients first thing to gather the information to look at a quote. And then between 8 and 12, then he's doing site visits, organising jobs, making sure stuff is going to plan. And then sort of between 12 and 3, he's in the office every day doing quotes, sending them out. And then 3 to 5, he's back on the road, either looking at something on the way home or looking at a job. And so the instruction to the office is you cannot book a site visit between 12 p.m. and 3 p.m. That is his time in the office. And that's how we ensured that quotes went out same day, every day. Very simple. I mean, that's a process and a policy.
Yep.
Right? And look at that. I mean, quoting happened every day. Amazing. So it's little things like that are very simple. And it has to be simple because a person has to do it. So it's not going to be these complex, unbelievable things. It's that, as Scott said, they've sat with you, understood your business, and then just brought some smarts and experience to it to go, oh yeah, this is how we can optimize this thing.
Yeah. And I had the conversation this morning with a customer about getting the jobs, as simple as just putting jobs in the system and then invoicing those jobs. It's change in mindset for the business owner or for the staff members to go, it's not optional. You do it at the time that it becomes available for you to put it in. So make time for it. I know it's easier said than done, but it's very easy to make excuses to go, oh, I'm too busy. I've got to get to the next job. I'm not going to put my time and my materials into the system. I'll do it later. And then later never comes, or later comes at the end of the month when you go, oh my God, I've got to invoice all that work and I never put it in. it's all too late. So it's the change in mindset to go, be disciplined to put the information and finish the process when you have the opportunity, because otherwise it's all too easy to make an excuse about why now is not the right time.
100%.
Now we're going to open it up to questions in 3 minutes. I'm just going to talk on AI for 2 minutes. We will hold it. I'm happy to hold a dedicated AI webinar. I'm in it all day, every day. AI is going to be amazing. It's going to be great for admin. It's going to supercharge admin. It's going to make life great for all of us. But I don't want you to worry about it. And the reason for that is this reason. It's like when battery-powered gear came out and people were getting onto it and some weren't. If you weren't on it, you were at a disadvantage. But now everyone's got power tool gear and it's no advantage. It's like going from like a newer van to older vans. You know, there's a short-term advantage, but everyone's going to have it. So there's no advantage. So in a couple of years' time, when it's all settled down, the advantage is always still going to be having a human admin person talking to a real person, giving customer delight. And it will be real people dealing with real people. Because that will be the competitive advantage, is how good an interaction can you make. All right. And that will always come back to people doing people things. So it's not your job to worry about AI. It's your job to just have tools that Fergus is going to put in, and Clinton and his team will put it in and use them, but realize that competitive advantage will come and go in a couple of years' time. It'll still come back to the principles, which is, did the customer get the outcome they wanted, and were they happy at the end of the job to pay the bill on time? And that will always be done by people. So don't ignore it, but don't also stress about it. Now it's the time for the questions. It's the fun time.
Okay, so everyone, you have the chance to either unmute yourself or put your questions into the chat. I did have a few pre-submitted questions that some of you sent through, so I might just start with those. One person was asking, when you hire a new apprentice or plumber or admin person, what is the best pathway to get them using Fergus to its full potential, so I can do what I do best, which is the work, so my employees have a job?
I'll start with that one. It ties in with what we talked about earlier, of having clarity on what the workflow is for that particular staff member, whether it's admin or it's field staff or whatever. Clarity on what they need to do. Because without that clarity on what that process needs to be, it's just very general. And so if you know, okay, you as a staff member, I need you to be able to log in to Fergus. I need you to be able to receive your jobs. I need you to be able to check in and check out of jobs and log your time and add photos and add notes. You develop that process on what you need them to do. And then you have clear and concise training, either recorded, or it might be with someone within the team that's the champion, or you might have an external party like us that can deliver a support session or a training session. But having that clear, concise training and educating them on what they need to do is step one. Because without that clarity, the person just doesn't know. Some people will have step-by-step manuals, like procedure documentation or recordings. So it just depends on the business. But clarity on what that workflow is that they need to be doing and what their role is in the business is important.
I think also a step there is also making sure, we've referenced it a couple of times, is the system is set up correctly, the workflow is set up correctly. So they actually know that the system, after they receive that training, is going to perform the way it's meant to, and it's going to flow the information to where it needs to be. Because it comes to the setup and the configuration, making sure that workflow is done, and then training the different staff on how to use their piece of it confidently.
I'll add as well, Lisa, when we run a project, we do a lot of work on Zoom of video meetings, and that's obviously for efficiency and convenience, but we can also record all the sessions, and we provide the recordings of the sessions to the business, and the business can then use those for training purposes later on, because we'll run a dedicated training session for field staff, and that talks through what is required, what's the workflow, here's how we do it, with recording screens and talking through the process. So that becomes a resource that the business is able to use over and over and over again when new staff come on board. Obviously, as things change, sometimes that's got to be updated, but it's a great resource to have there to draw upon for the field team, the admin team, for business owner, for whoever.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's some great answers. Is there anyone that would like to unmute themselves and just ask a question to the team once you've got them here?
Don't be afraid to have an opinion. I'm certainly not.
I've got a question, Lisa, if I can ask it.
Yes, please.
Johnny, what would be the biggest mistakes that companies make when they're implementing Fergus? What do they look like in that first, let's say, 90 days? What are the mistakes that companies are making?
Good question. Do you want to go, Scott?
Yeah, not having the right people involved would be one of the biggest things. So, and look, it's this goes back to delegation and business owners and things like that, and also comes down to capacity of a business owner as well. And I'll keep this short but succinct. Is that some projects that we have will have a business owner who wants to control and take lead because the business is his baby, but he's the wrong person to be actually running the project, or we need other staff to come in and contribute and share that load. If you don't have the right people in and a business owner is taking lead on it, first of all, their capacity is very minimal. So for them to actually implement the software correctly without using other staff to sort of help, it's not impossible, but it's challenging. I'm going through a project at the moment that I'm just project managing with one of the trainers. And look, I've got to give the guy credit. He was leading the whole project, didn't want to lead any of his team involved. So I had to sit down with him and say, mate, this is going to fail unless you bring in some of your other team. You're not the right person to be leading this project. And credit to him, he brought his operations person in and his service coordinator. I did a check-in with them, which is a session that I do independently with the client to see how things are going yesterday, and it is heading in the right direction. It's going to be successful. But there's a great real-life example of one of the reasons, that implementations can fail or be very challenging for a business.
And I'll add in I don't know how to word it. It doesn't have to be perfect at the start. A lot of people make the mistake of thinking, I have to get everything exactly right before I go live. And so they're kind of paralyzed by trying to working out how do I make this work the way we've been doing it, or how do I get all of this information into the system? It's an evolution. So getting started with the old 80-20 rule, getting started with kind of 80% there is fine, and it will evolve. So not being scared, I suppose, to go live when it's not 100% perfect, because it will change. It'll absolutely change.
Yeah, there's the old saying, the team that got you here is not the team that will get you there.
Is that the All Blacks?
Yeah. Yeah.
I probably shouldn't have put that up.
Yeah, you shouldn't. Come on, there's a lot of people on the call. Ask some questions. It's been quite challenging, hopefully. Hopefully I've been quite opinionated to make you go, gosh, that stings a bit.
Whilst we're waiting, I do have a couple of more questions. Hopefully that person is online or will watch the recording. It's an interesting one. It says, how the hell can we survive with fuel, PVC pipe, and all our other costs going up?
Oh, I'm not answering that.
throw out the hand.
Yeah, I hand it over.
We're dealing with clients all day, every day, asking the same thing, and ultimately, it's passing it down the line. There's no other option. And I know it's easier said than done, especially if you're running fixed price projects. If they're fixed price projects and you're under a contract, it is really, really difficult. And we're no doubt going to see a lot of businesses struggle, like we did during COVID when we had all of the price increases. But ultimately, I think it comes down to communication. It's communication with your clients and the people that you're working with to go, look, there's two options here. I either pass on the pricing or I'm not here to do the work. So it's, which way do we go? But communication, whether it's this situation or it's anything to do with client services, communication is critical. Taking the ostrich approach and just sticking your head in the sand is not the right way to do it. But just communicating with your clients to go, look, I can't absorb these price increases. I have to start charging a travel charge or a kilometers charge or a materials surcharge or whatever it might be. Everyone's feeling it. And I had a workshop with a mentor a couple of weeks ago, and he said there has never ever been a better time in the entire world to put your prices up because everybody is putting their prices up.
100%.
And I know it's easier said than done, but the hardest part of anything is thinking about it. Yeah,
Absolutely. And we're all in the same boat. Like your clients are in the same boat. We're all experiencing this pressure. Doesn't matter what you do, what industry you're in, when you go to the supermarket every day, when you fill up with petrol. It's just costing more to go fishing. But anyway, so everybody, my point being is everybody's in the same boat. And you will get some clients that resist, but we're all feeling it, every single one of us.
There are a couple of principles in business at play. So generally, if you have a bear economy and a bull economy, so a bull economy is when the economy is charging, and it's okay to spend money and you will grow your way to success. So spend money on marketing and advertising and borrow vans and get debt and grow. That's good. A bear economy is when the economy is in trouble. And generally in a bear economy, you do actually kind of save your way to success. So you do be a bit more cautious. You do look for ways to be more effective, more efficient. Doesn't mean don't spend money, but you do need to be a bit more cautious, optimize a lot more. But to give you some, there's a really good T-shirt I like. I saw it on a meme. There was this old guy, fat, and he was running, and on the back of this T-shirt it said, "Old, fat, slow, in front of you." And in business, you've only got to be better than the guy behind you. You don't have to be the best business in Sydney, in Melbourne, in Auckland. You've only got to be just that much better than the few guys behind you to get the work. So therefore, when you look at what you're doing at your work, just relax, look what your competition is doing, and just be better than them. Be better marketing slightly, answer the phone better slightly, have a slightly better van, a slightly better uniform, do the work slightly better. You just have to be slightly better than the guys behind you.
a lot of times that's just actually showing up.
Yeah.
People
want the
people
example
don't
today
show
because
up.
I'm still raging because I'm on the job and the digger didn't turn up at all today.
Yeah.
I had to leave to come back here for this. Never made it at all. Never made it at all. Oh.
Okay,
No
we've
other
got one more
questions,
question
Lisa? Yeah, there's a
quickly.
question.
Yeah, just one more in the chat before we say our goodbyes. Emma's asking, how do we get started with TradiePad? Can TradiePad look at our at our use of Fergus, how to optimize our current systems, and what are we missing technology we can be using?
Great question. Yes, absolutely, 100%. All starts with a phone call. You can book a call straight through our website. Okay. But we have a specific product called a Fergus Health Check, where we will take you through, find out about what you do, how you do it, who's who in the zoo, find out how you are actually using Fergus at the moment. Okay. And also recommend some quick tips and tricks and wins that you can take value away from straight away. Okay. And then if needed, we can put together a bit of an optimization plan after that sort of health check process, because we need to understand, your business and your team, and also the way you're using it. So then we can put a bit of a plan in place to optimize. And to give you a bit of an idea, it's a two-stage process. It all starts with a health check, Fergus health check, or a Fergus discovery session. Okay. And to give you a bit of a ballpark on what that costs is around about $500.
Great. We've got the 2 QR codes on the screen as well. If you want to scan the TradiePad or the Fergus QR code, the TradiePad, you can book a call with the team as well, and then book in for your health check, like Clinton just said. And yeah, for the left, you've got the Fergus QR code if you'd like to get a free trial and just have a play with Fergus. We also offer demos. So yeah, just get in touch with us.
You've been a great audience.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it all.
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining. This has been brilliant. Thanks also to Clinton, Scott, and Dan for this great session today.
Pleasure. And I'd like to say a big shout out and a thank you to Simon from Viz Insurance for getting the
Yes.
ball rolling with this, because we had a great catch up with Simon a little while back and had a look at Viz Insurance for tradies, which is absolute gold and something that just takes the confusion out of insurance. Because I know from firsthand experience, the whole insurance journey as a tradie is very confusing. And so I love what Viz is doing with making it easy.
Absolutely. We recently had a webinar with Viz Insurance. So if you're interested, let us know. We'll send you the recording as well. Otherwise, just give us a shout and we'll be happy to help you along.
Yeah,
All right.
I always like talking to tradies. You can email me, dan@fergus.com. I'll always talk to you. Always be straight talk though. Be no cotton wool.
Oh, we wouldn't have it any other way, Dan. You're a legend.
All
Thanks,
That's right.
Dan. Thanks,
Thanks,
Lisa.
Dan.
Thanks,
Awesome.
everybody.
right.
Thank you all.
everybody.
Thanks for joining.